Hey everybody, welcome to our Destiny Review in Progress Impressions number 2 video. I'm Ryan Taljonick with Gamesradar.com.
I'm Lucas Sullivan.
Now you can speak, Lucas.
Thank you.
Okay, so today, I've been playing the hell out of this game. I'm on this character halfway through,
Nice.
almost to 20. I've been playing around with a level 20 character as well, a warlock, pretty fun. So Lucas, let's talk about endgame play in Destiny, because I know that's what a lot of people are asking about, especially in the comments section. So you guys got a lot of questions. Is it going to be grindy? Is it fun? What is there to do? And I'm going to do my best to walk you through all of those things that I can.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people have hit 20 already, and the game hasn't even been out for a week. So
yeah.
I should hope the end game would be pretty good.
So I would say my time to level 20 has taken me about probably 16 hours, I think is enough to get you through the main story. I haven't actually even finished the main story yet. I've been having a lot of fun with the Crucible stuff and all that. So, all right, let's jump right in. Now, you may have seen, we posted a video a couple days ago that was all about reputation, right? Mm-hmm. So, Destiny being an MMO, even if Bungie doesn't want to call it that, has reputation factions, and you can increase your standing with them, which in turn allows you to buy better rewards. So, at level 20, one of the cool things you can do, and I'm going to run over this way because this is where 2 of these guys are located. Right. At level 20, you can choose to join one of 3 specialized PvP factions, which, as you increase your faction with them, or your reputation with them, you can unlock even more specialized PvP gear. Now here's one, Arakjolol. How do you even pronounce that? Dead Orbit. All right, so here's the Dead Orbit faction. You can see I have 0 rep with them, but one of the what you do, so you can see they sell the legendary
those stats.
Armor. Now their stuff focuses on discipline and strength. You can see those are the 2 primary stats on here, and we'll talk about light in a little bit. But to increase your reputation with any of these specialized factions, you just buy the appropriate class item. So in my case, a cloak.
Okay.
You equip that, and then it converts all of your Crucible rep to Dead Orbit rep.
And you're not giving up anything by putting that in that slot, right?
No, because the class items, as far as I know, don't have any stats. And for me, it's the cloak, so it's. As far as I know, it's been mostly a cosmetic thing. Cool. I'll be curious to see if ever they act as like raid attunement keys or something like that. Like you have to be wearing this certain class item to be able to even go in. I don't know for sure if that'll ever be the case, but seems like it could be possible. And then, of course, just real quick to finish our little faction tour. Little tour
around the world.
You got the Crucible guys here. He sells basic Crucible. You can see got plenty of Crucible rep from just playing the matches. Is how you earn that. Yeah, no, you get rep by completing bounties, Crucible bounties. But then you also get these marks, right? So you need that. That's the currency for buying some of the endgame gear.
Ah, okay.
So there's Vanguard marks, which is PvE, and then Crucible marks, which are for PvP.
So how long do you think it would take to earn like one piece of
I think I've been getting about 3 to 5 marks per PvP match.
Okay.
So a little while. You need 65 per piece. And then, of course, you got your Vanguard armor sets here as well. So that's a quick tour of the reputation and factions. A lot of the end game is completing bounties to help grind that out so that you can purchase some of those gear. Now, the Crucibles you'll kind of just do passively while playing. They're pretty easy to
jump in,
to complete.
Do a couple,
yeah, you just run up and talk to this guy. And it's interesting to me too. You see I have a whole bunch, and I've been working on some last night, so I got to buy some new ones. But the stock refreshes every 24 hours. So you want to complete as many of these as you can, I think, every 24-hour period, if you want to get the absolute most out of the reputation gathering process.
So it seems like the bounties are kind of like daily quests in an MMO.
Yeah, yep, that's a really good analog for what those are. Now you'll see here, this guy's level 24. So let's talk about this real quick.
Yeah, I don't understand this. Fill me in.
Yeah, so level 20 is the level cap in Destiny, but here's the cool thing. Once you hit 20, I'd been talking about that light stat on the gear earlier. Light becomes essentially your new experience point base. So here's how this works. At level 20, you can start unlocking that really good gear, right? And all of it will start having a stat called light on it. after you hit a certain number of light points, your level increases by 1. So when you see somebody that's level 24, 25, anything above 20, really all that is essentially an item level. If you're familiar with like World of Warcraft, you have an item level and then you have a character level. After level 20, your nameplate starts displaying your item level. So that's what you'll use to get into the raids or some of the heroic strike missions, because they require like level 22 or level 26 is the raid, Vault of Glass.
That's really smart. It's like an instant way of seeing that someone has good gear.
Yeah, so you're not actually leveling up. That's just a representation of how good of the gear, how good the gear is that you're wearing. Now, you do still, however, get to accrue skill points. So it might have been a little confusing because you might have thought these were related to your leveling, but they're not. You level these skill points and you gain progress toward unlocking one just by playing this subclass, right? So even at level 20, I can switch to my Blade Hunter or Blade Dancer subclass. You'll see I haven't made any progress. That's because I haven't been playing with it equipped.
But you're still level 19.
Yep. So what I'll do is maybe after I decide I want to start leveling this, I'll just go do some missions with friends, and I'll still gain progress toward unlocking all these skills, even though I'm not leveling up anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of how the level cap stuff works. Again, just to while we go into orbit here, you're gaining levels by equipping better items. That's how it works post 20.
These people aren't hacking the game and
right,
finding a way to power level.
All right, so now we're gonna skip ahead into a ground mission thing, just so we can show you guys some of the other stuff.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm on the like overworld map, right? You'll see I still haven't completed the story mode, which is why I have that little exclamation point on Venus. But a part of what you'll do, basically the end game play is divided into two things. The Crucible, which is the PvP stuff. You guys are all familiar with this, I'm sure. Salvage is a new mode that just unlocked.
What's the one on the right?
I don't know. I haven't gotten that one yet.
To be determined.
I have to play Rumble first, or maybe I have to hit level 20. I don't know. So there's the Crucible stuff. PvP, it's like your typical Halo kind of style.
Yeah, it's
multiplayer
fun.
matches. Yeah, good time.
They go quick.
Then there's the Strike playlist. So this is basically puts you through. It like queues you up for these various strike missions. So it's almost like queuing for instance dungeons in another MMO, but it'll set it up as a playlist, so you kind of keep hopping back into them as you play. And then at 20, the gear drops become much more frequent. So really what you're doing is kind of grinding these out, playing through these to get... I hesitate to use the word grind because that implies like it's really boring and monotonous. I've been having a lot of fun with Destiny. I don't feel... because it plays like a regular shooter, I don't really feel like it's very grindy yet. But I imagine a couple months from now, if you're still playing these same 3 or 4 strike missions or the same 3 or 4 Crucible modes for marks and reputation, you might start to feel a little
burn out a little bit
burned out. That said, one of the big things with MMOs, and I'm just going to go over to Venus while we talk about this to just kill some stuff. I'll do the patrol. So one of the big things about MMOs, right, is you need this constant drip feed of content to keep you wanting to play. And I think one of the biggest stumbling blocks pretty much any MMO has is that it either doesn't have enough, or usually just doesn't have enough to keep people satisfied.
People are ravenously hungry for new stuff all the time. And
maybe that was one. I was a little concerned that maybe Destiny would run into this because I have 4 strike missions, 3 if you're playing on the Xbox One. I think one of them is exclusive to the PS4. I think I should actually double check that. But
I think you're right.
And then we have those 4 strike missions. We have 3. I don't know, like 5 different Crucible modes. Is that going to keep you enough? Is that going to be enough like months from now? Probably not. But one of the cool things is, and Bungie has this up on their website, is they're going to be releasing regular content updates. So this weekend was the Salvage Crucible game mode, right? Which is pretty cool. Next weekend, the raid, the Vault of Glass, opens up. And you have to be level 26, so you have to have some pretty decent gear from the strike missions to even play that, because it's going to be extremely difficult. And then they've already got content plans through October laid out on the site. So one is going to be a new and high-level story mission that they'll be gradually teasing those out as well.
Oh, cool.
Oh my gosh, I think I have my subclass equipped, so I don't have any skills.
It looks like your gun still is as effective as
yeah, the guns are always as effective. So that's a really smart way to avoid, kind of like really gimpy. You.
Yeah. Now, it looks like the gunplay, I mean, at level 19, what you've been playing, does the gunplay hold up? Like, you don't feel like enemies just have a bazillion health and you're not doing anything?
Yeah, right. So here's a pretty cool thing. I feel like I did some missions last night with my cousin and one of his friends, and they're a lower level than I was. And I was a little concerned, like, okay, am I going to just, like, not have any fun here? Because I'll be, like, one-shotting everything. And will they not have any fun either because it's not challenging for them? That was absolutely not the case. I mean, if you're playing missions in a fire team, it's kind of scaling up with you, the difficulty. Another cool thing was, I was taking down, like, the really basic enemies pretty easily. But even when we started playing against some of the more challenging, there are some enemies that are, like, essentially like generals, or I forget the terms, veterans or something it calls them. That
with the gold health
bars.
They
have gold health bars. Like, those guys, even for me being like 5 levels above my cousin and his friend, were still really, really tough. And I was getting level appropriate gear for what we were doing.
Oh, awesome.
So I was still getting rewarded, still having a good time. It was really challenging, and they were still having a good time and getting loot and experience too. So I think it's like a really smart way that it's still, you can go back and play missions with people that need to get caught up, and you can still have a good time and still get good stuff out of it. So even at level 20, you'll get pieces of gear that have that light stat on them just from doing old missions with your friends.
That's perfect. Yeah, it's really smart of MMOs. I think Guild Wars do that too, of like enabling you to play with your friends and making it as easy as possible.
So let's talk real quick too about strike missions. There are one on each of the planets: Earth, the Moon, Venus. I haven't done the Venus one yet on this character, but those are essentially instance dungeons, right? So you go into a matchmaking system to do them with some buddies, or just random people, and then they're meant to be like super challenging. So they've been really, really fun.
You can get into them pretty early. Like, you don't have to wait until you're in the teams.
Yeah, the first one opens up like right around level 8, I think, is the first one. So those are really fun, and the bosses at the end are really challenging. They do have a ton of health, so in that way you do feel like you're just whittling down at a massive health bar. But it's not boring because the challenge constantly keeps you on your toes, and it's really fun, right? And it's really and it is really tough. And so you don't feel like you're just, I'm just sitting here holding this trigger, nothing's happening. Like, it is like constantly you have to move around and stay on your toes. And
yeah, like any good boss fight, they're designed to be patterns. So even if, you're not doing all their health in 5 seconds of shooting, you're still having a good time just like peppering them as you avoid attacks. And dodge at the
absolutely.
Right
so those are kind of strike missions, right? Like the instance dungeons that you queue up for. And then there's the raid. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Vault of Glass. Now, I haven't been in there, so I can't tell you with any certainty what is or is not in it. But Lucas, you and I have done plenty of MMO raiding in the past, and I think we can give a general idea of what to expect. And which is to say, it's going to be extremely tough. Just from the fact that you have to have a gear level of 26 before you can even get in it tells me, okay, they want you to have already invested a lot of time into really familiarizing yourself with some of the endgame systems.
Which is for the best.
Yeah, because here's how typically raids work in an MMO. If you've not done them, you group up with a bunch of people. Now, in traditional MMOs, it's much more than what it is in Destiny, but in Destiny it's 6, which is still a good amount. You group up with those people, you enter the dungeon, then you typically have to clear what people call trash mobs. They're just regular enemies, like the ones we're fighting now. And they'll probably all have gold health bars, if I had to guess. So they're going to be really, really tough. And then eventually you get to a boss. So then when you fight the boss, MMO bosses, unlike, just regular ones here, usually have some really cool mechanics at play. I'm curious to see if that is the case in Destiny. Here's one of those gold health bars I was telling you about. I'll be curious to see how complicated mechanics can get in a shooter, right? I imagine it's a lot of dodging certain telegraphed attacks. Probably some fights will force you to like kite certain types of enemies or focus down certain types of enemies. And the raids are all about communication.
Yeah, I'm also really curious to see how much class makeup will affect how well you do in these raids, because in MMOs that's a huge factor, but it sounds like the way Destiny was designed, like you can have a handful of warlocks and maybe
which is good because like 90% of the population is playing a warlock. But no, I imagine the raids are going to be really, really tough encounters, and the reason you can't just queue for them with random players and you have to play with people on your friends list, which I understand why that's a little discouraging for some. Like maybe it's really hard to communicate or coordinate with to get 6 friends playing at the same exact time. But I think it is for the best because those encounters are meant to be so hard that you have to communicate with your friends to complete them. And then, of course, the reward for all that grueling punishment and surviving it is you get raid set gear, which is like probably the most powerful PvE equipment in the game. Right? There are tons of Crucible vendors, and you can get those specialized factions. Those don't exist for PvE factions because you're meant to do raids to get that gear instead. Cool. Right? So that's why that is the case. But I think that covers most of the systems. Oh, another question that I saw popping up in the comments real quick, where if there's no crafting in the game, which there's not, why am I getting materials?
That's a good question. I'd like to know as well.
That's because you use that to level up your weapons. Remember, as you're using your weapons, you get an opportunity to upgrade them. And especially with some of the endgame weapons, you need those fancy materials to make them more powerful. So that's why. But, alright, we've rambled on long enough. Let's bring this video to a close. Thank you guys so much. I hope that answered some of your questions about endgame content in Destiny. It's really fun.
Answered mine.
Really fun. It doesn't feel too grindy yet. There are content release plans in place to make sure there are new events and public things happening pretty much on a weekly basis. Keep an eye out for those. And if you like the video, please subscribe to our channel. Give us some feedback. What else do you want to see in terms of Destiny coverage? And be sure to check us out at Gamesradar.com.